Hi, I'm Kendra Ruth, and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous female left behind and forward moving spouse. I'm keeping her anonymous because this was submitted through Facebook and I didn't receive permission to use her name. Her bomb drop is around October of 2021. They were together 18 years and cohabited for 15 years, not married. Honestly, the marriage doesn't really matter whether they have gotten a legal marriage because they have been living in a marital style relationship. And that's what we're looking at. Contact type, he's still at home and he's a clinging boomerang. She says, we've been together for 18 years, though not married. 5 months ago, he threw out of left field and said he didn't want to be with me anymore. He says I robbed him of getting married and having more children. We've lived together for 15 years and we still do. We sleep in the same bed and we're intimate, and he's always the one to initiate. He says he loves me very much, but he's not sure he's in love with me. And he's gone back and forth about trying to work on things and start over, but now he's been in a supposed relationship with a 26-year-old for the past 2 months. Mind you, he's 44 and his daughter is 21. He says he doesn't see a future with her, but he's having fun and that rebounds just don't work. He says he's not sure he can trust me and thinks I'm being faked trying to get him back. I did counseling alone a couple of months ago, and I'm not sure if it helped. But I've grown a lot myself. I just don't see how we could throw away an 18-year relationship without even wanting to try again. He says he could maybe see us together again. He says he has to tie up some loose ends. Whatever that means. I'm trying to give him time and space. But I love him with all my soul and want to get married and have babies now. Does this sound like midlife crisis? I feel he's confused. And in the last few weeks, he's been more quiet and says he can see a positive change in me. Any advice would be appreciated. Okay, so first thing, let's start with some language. You say he's been in a supposed relationship with a 26-year-old. No, he's been in an affair. Just because you're not legally married doesn't mean it's not infidelity. You have been in a marital style relationship. The standard rules that we apply to marriage apply. And that only doesn't apply is if you two have had an open relationship where this has been discussed. The default for relationships in our culture is monogamy. Or, we wish it were, but it's an expectation of monogamy. So if you're going to have an open marriage, you don't get to say, well, I wasn't cheating, we have an open marriage, if you never discussed it with your spouse. Never gave your spouse the opportunity to agree to that standard. This is not a relationship. It's an affair. It is infidelity. It is cheating. So make sure he's not in a relationship with her. And then he says rebounds don't work. This isn't a rebound either. He hasn't left you because he's still at home. He's still sleeping in the same bed. He's still intimate. It's infidelity. That's very black and white at this point. So rebounds are relationships you get into that are the first relationships after you've ended a previous relationship. And they're considered rebounds when they happen fast. So if you were out of a relationship and you didn't get into another one for 10 years, that might not be considered a rebound. But if you're married for 25 years and you start dating somebody 3 months after a breakup, and a breakup could be, my husband left me, he's a clinging boomerang, I'm not taking him back, I could be rebounding. He's in an affair. Okay. So now, counseling, you're not sure if it helped. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but you say you're doing better now. It's like one of those things where I took if I went and got hypnotherapy, which is my thing, I love hypnotherapy, and I stopped smoking, and I went to hypnotherapy for stop smoking, how do I know that I just wasn't hitting the right time in my life and I was going to stop smoking with or without it? Now, with hypnotherapy and cessation of smoking, we have evidence if large groups go and they all end up, or a large percentage. But when it's just one statistic, maybe counseling helped you, maybe it didn't. But the thing is, some of the things that benefit through counseling are things we don't necessarily realize the counseling is working on. When I was 8, and so it's a little harder to hide it when you're 8 because you just don't understand. But I was in counseling for a year with a psychologist because I cried every day at school. And I remember my mom saying, "Your teacher says you're doing so much better now." And we were talking about my counselor, and so we knew it was that subject. And I thought, I don't know what that has to do with it. We just play Chutes and Ladders, and he does, and Candyland. And if I ask him a question, he'll answer it. In other words, if I ask him to do something, because I asked him to look, I said, "Can we figure out how many seconds are in a year?" And he got up on his blackboard and did it. That has stayed with me, because it was 41 years ago, 42 years ago about. I was so impressed, and so all I had to do was say, "Can we do this?" And he said, "Yeah, let's do it right now." But I'm playing with it. Of course, I'm talking to him while I'm doing this, but I'm not aware of it. That's play therapy. Yeah, sure, you weren't in play therapy, but there are things that when we're working on, we're going through this, we don't aware that this is the byproduct. We address issues sometimes by going around the bush and getting a different angle on them. So it may very well have helped you. It's still probably a good idea to attend therapy. Let's look. Now, you described a perfect clinging boomerang. We don't know if he's a clinging boomerang because it hasn't been too long. It's been a while, but he's also at home, and that can change the dynamics. But yes, he is showing those signs. I would classify in that as well at this point. I'm just saying that things will change, have greater tendency to change with somebody who's been at home than with somebody who hasn't, even though he's probably a solid clinging boomerang. He says he could maybe see us together again, right there. That's solid clinging boomerang territory. Now, what does it mean he has to tie up some loose ends? Well, it means a few things. The first thing it means is he's making up an excuse. That is the first main thing. He doesn't know what to say, and it's like, I just have to figure this out. Now, the next thing, however, is we see it at the end of an affair where they want to break up, or they have broken up, and it hasn't taken. They've broken up a few times, that sort of thing. Or they're trying to break up. He has to tie up loose ends, and relationships, even the ones I know is an affair, but we label it as an affair, don't break up smoothly. Just like marriages. It's not just a marriage that goes back and forth. It's affairs. And so he might sense that it's over, but it's going to take time. And the example I want to give isn't an infidelity. It is my dad and one of his girlfriends. He was with her from the time I was around 9 to 11. And she had a very serious handicap. She had a brain disorder. I don't know if you call it disorder. She had been hit by a bus when she was about 9 and had a metal plate in her head. My dad met her because she was at my grandmother's house when my dad dropped me off from the weekend, and my grandma asked him if she could take her home. She had been in a coma for 9 months when she was a child. I think it was 9, unless it was a little older. My dad started dating her and moved in very quickly with her, and we lived together. They lived together, and they lived a few blocks from my house. Now, this was the only time after my dad and my parents divorced. There was a few months where he was in town in an apartment, and then he moved off. He was an hour away usually, and he was every weekend. Unless something was going on, he was there. He was taking me. I hardly ever saw him then. She was jealous. Now, she was a nice person, and everybody recognized that she had a severe mental disability. And he knew he had to break up with her. He knew he had to break it off. But he needed to do it slowly. For one thing, there was empathy for her. She wasn't being a horrible person or dangerous in that manner. And so he wanted to be gentle with it. And so he took the breakup slowly. I know that he moved, and he moved far away again to where it was about 40 minutes this time. I know that's where he found an apartment, but he always said, living in Mount Vernon is like watching the grass die. So he was bored there. It's a lovely place. But he didn't want to just say, we're done. I have to get out of here, and this is toxic or whatever. He wanted to be gentle with her. And yeah, these MLCers do that to us, ghost us, or, hey, it's over, too bad. I know it's been 25 years, but hey, you'll get over it. I'm done. I hate you. And They do that to us. No, not all of them. Some of them are clean boomerangs, are particular back and forth. But he could feel for her. And so sometimes they're doing that with the alienator. That's how Chuck was with the alienator. I'm so worried I'm hurting her. Thanks for worrying about me, buddy. But that's how they feel. They were supposed to be the knight for that damsel, not you. They tried to rescue you. They feel they failed. Now they've moved on, and they failed to rescue this new damsel, the affair partner, the alienator. And it's on them. That's their interpretation. So that way it takes a lot longer to get out of this, to extract themselves from this difficult situation. But honestly, there's a big excuse in it. Okay. Does it sound like a midlife crisis? It might. I mean, honestly, I would need more, but yeah, it could be a midlife crisis. He's at the right age range. He's having an affair. He's been in a long-term relationship with you. So you fit all of the boxes in that way. So what I recommend you do, and I will try and remember to put the link if you haven't already done it, is go take my quiz to find out if this is a midlife crisis. And you'll go through a series of questions, which are just checkbox questions. And you just check as many as can, and you'll get the result at the end. And that should help you determine whether he is in a midlife crisis if you haven't already done that or not. And if you have done that and still have questions, let me know where it doesn't fit, or because sometimes what I find is people just, well, yeah, he fits all the boxes and everything, but I don't know. They're just trying to talk themselves out of something, and they're doubting where they don't really have a doubt. But I don't want it to be this, or I do want it to be this. Oftentimes people want it to be a midlife crisis over something else. So go with the data on it. If it checks the boxes, stop questioning it, really. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see everybody in the next question.